Welcome to Midnight True Horror. Tonight we're reading 3 eyewitness accounts of night driving. These are ordinary people who sent their stories. No monsters, no effects, only what they remember. You decide what's true. This testimony was sent by Mark H. 42, a long-haul truck driver from Indiana. The incident took place in March on I-70 between Indianapolis and St. Louis. What follows is his story read verbatim. My name is Mark. I've been driving rigs since 21. Most nights are uneventful. Mile markers sliding by, coffee cooling in the cup holder, the engine filling the cab. If there's fear in trucking, it's the kind you can measure. Black ice, a blown tire, a driver who drifts. This night wasn't like that. I started late after a delay at the dock. By midnight the sky was a flat sheet of darkness. The weather was windless. Even the radio felt empty, just a host mumbling to no one. Traffic thinned until minutes passed without another vehicle. That's normal between towns. Just fields, billboard shadows, and the concrete ribbon pulling you forward. Around 1:05 a.m. I saw headlights in my mirror, 2 small white coins floating far back. A car catches you, then passes. Except this one didn't. It held position like it was tied to my trailer by an invisible rope. I glanced down, 65. A minute later I checked again, still 65. The lights matched me exactly. 10 minutes, 15, 20, still the same. I tapped my brakes lightly, the polite go around signal. Nothing. I nudged the accelerator to 70. The lights shrank a little, then grew again as if pulled by a rubber band, right back to the same distance. That was when something irrational crept in. Out here you make peace with deer, drunks, boredom. What you can't make peace with is intention. The feeling someone has chosen to sit in your blind spot for reasons you don't understand. I told myself it was a nervous driver using me as a pace car. I flicked hazards for a few flashes. Go on, friend. Still nothing. They neither fell back nor came forward, just 2 steady eyes in the mirror. At 1:40 a.m. a green sign, rest area 7 miles. I decided to exit and let them go by. The road ahead stayed empty, the rear stayed the same, those lights patient, almost gentle. I started noticing small details. Every time I changed lanes to avoid rough patches, the lights drifted with me half a beat later. When I signaled, they signaled. When I eased back right, they did too. It felt like dancing with someone who refused to lead or follow. There's a trick the mind plays at that hour. It offers explanations you wouldn't accept at noon. I hit channel 19. Shadowtail on I-70 westbound, you see me? Silence. At 1:52 I eased onto the off-ramp. The pavement changed texture under my tires. The noise shifted from hum to hiss. I coasted into the truck lot, picked a space under a buzzing sodium light, and set the brake. Then I looked up to see the headlights swing into view. They didn't. No car followed down the ramp. No glow at the top of the hill. No taillights dwindling on the main line. Just empty lanes and a pale sky with not even a plane line to break it. I waited 2-3 minutes, staring so hard my eyes watered. Nothing moved. The world felt staged, a set painted with darkness and silence. I climbed down from the cab. The air surprised me. It was colder by at least 10 degrees than a mile back. I walked to the rear of the trailer and scanned the entrance. If someone had crept in with lights off, I'd have heard gravel, a belt squeal, anything. I heard only the buzzing lights and the tick of my engine cooling. The lot was nearly empty. 2 sleepers idling far off, cab curtains drawn, a sedan near the bathrooms. That was it. Back in the cab I locked the doors, something I don't usually do, and killed the interior lights. From the bunk I could still see my driver's side mirror. I lay there repeating daylight reasons. The car turned off at the last minute. The driver kept going. Maybe I imagined the perfect pacing. I wanted to believe them. I repeated them like a prayer. It took a long time to sleep. When I did, I dreamed I was still on the highway and the lights were still there. I woke sweating, checked the mirror, and saw only the rectangle of orange lot light. Somehow that rectangle felt worse than the dream, because it was real and it was empty. At dawn I asked 2 other drivers if they'd ever had a tail like that. Both nodded. One said, "Sometimes it's a scared kid pacing you." The other said, "Sometimes, it's exactly what you think, and you never find out which." Then he laughed without smiling. I hauled out a fresh log sheet and rolled. First thing I did was check the mirror. Nothing but the gray road, the pale sky, and my own face looking older than it had the night before. I don't know what followed me. A person, a prank, a coincidence that lasted too long, or maybe it was my brain making patterns out of emptiness. We do that to survive the night. But ever since then, when two lights appear and hold steady for more than a minute, I speak out loud to an empty mirror. You go on ahead now, and I keep driving. Our second testimony comes from Emily R., a 26-year-old nurse from Central Texas. She wrote her account after finishing a night shift and facing one of the most unnerving drives of her life. This is her story, exactly as she told it. My name is Emily. I work the night shift at a hospital about 30 miles from my apartment. Driving home is usually routine, put on a podcast, sip stale coffee from the cafeteria, and let the blacktop guide me home. One Friday in June, that drive turned into something I can't explain. I clocked out just past 11:30 p.m. The summer air was heavy, pressing sweat into the scrubs I still wore. The sky was starless, low clouds reflecting faint orange light from the city behind me. The first 10 miles were normal. Traffic lights, gas stations still open, the occasional truck, then the road narrowed to a 2-lane highway cutting through farmland. That's where I noticed the car. It appeared in my mirror without warning, as if someone had flipped a switch. No gradual approach, no distant glow. Just there, a pair of faint outlines behind me. Except the lights were off. At first I thought the car was parked on the shoulder, but as I drove, it moved with me, a shadow shape matching every curve of the road. I blinked, adjusted the mirror, rubbed my eyes. Still there. I tapped my brakes lightly, hoping to trigger their headlights. Nothing. The road bent right, passing a line of dark trees. I checked my mirror, the car bent right, hugging the turn perfectly. I rolled down my window slightly, listening. Sometimes you can hear tires on asphalt, especially when a car is close. But all I heard was wind and the faint buzz of insects. That silence gnawed at me. I sped up to 60, then 70. The shadow matched. I slowed to 50, then 45. It matched again. Each adjustment came with a sinking in my stomach. Whoever was behind me was making a choice to stay there. I passed a gas station, its lot glowing with fluorescent tubes. I considered pulling in, but fear stopped me. If I pulled in, they would too. The road stretched into long rural nothing, lined with barbed wire and shadows. My GPS map showed 15 miles to the next town. 15 miles with that shape behind me. I began counting the seconds between each nervous glance. 10, 20, 30. Every time the dark outline was still there. Around mile 12, something changed. The car began edging closer, not quickly, just a slow crawl forward, shrinking the gap until I couldn't see both headlights in the mirror anymore. That's when instinct took over. I stomped the accelerator and pushed to 80. The road blurred, tires humming loud enough to drown thought. My mirror showed only darkness, until it didn't. The car was still there. No lights, no signal, locked on me. At 90 miles an hour, I felt my hands go numb. I screamed once, not words, just raw fear. Then in the next breath, the shape vanished. I braked hard, slowing to 50, then 40. My chest heaved, the wheel trembled. I checked again and again. The mirror showed nothing but my own wide eyes, headlights stretching into an empty road. When I reached my apartment, I sat in the driveway for almost 20 minutes, gripping the wheel, headlights still on. I tried to explain it to myself. Maybe I imagined it. Maybe fatigue played tricks. But fatigue doesn't make a car keep pace for 20 miles. Fatigue doesn't make taillights vanish without trace. I know what I saw, I know what I felt, and I haven't driven home the same way since. I always keep my phone recording on the passenger seat. I always text a friend when I leave. And when I check my mirror and see nothing but night, I still half expect those dark headlights to bloom back into view. That was Emily's account from Texas. Our final testimony tonight comes from a family returning home late at night, and the figure they encountered more than once on the roadside. Our third and final testimony comes from David L., a 38-year-old father from Ohio. This winter he was driving home late with his wife and daughter when they encountered something, or someone, that defies easy explanation. This is his account.
My name is David. I work in insurance. I'm married, with a daughter who was 9 at the time this happened. I'm not the kind of person who tells ghost stories or exaggerates details, but what we saw on that drive has stayed with all three of us. It was February. We had gone to visit my in-laws about an hour away. By the time we left, it was almost midnight. My wife sat in the passenger seat, dozing off now and then, while my daughter slept under a blanket in the back. The road between towns was mostly rural, flat farmland, few houses, occasional intersections, long stretches of dark two-lane highway. About 15 minutes into the drive, we saw him. At first I thought it was just a hitchhiker, a man standing by the shoulder, thumb out, backlit by the glow of a roadside billboard. He wore a long coat that brushed his knees and had one hand raised in a loose wave. I slowed instinctively, but my wife shook her head firmly. We never pick up strangers at night, not with our daughter in the car. So I drove past. I glanced in the mirror. He stayed standing there, arms still raised, until the darkness swallowed him. 10 minutes later, around a curve in the road, my headlights swept across another figure on the shoulder. Same posture, same coat, same raised hand. I felt the blood drain from my face. My wife whispered, "That's him." I wanted to argue, but I couldn't. The build, the stance, everything matched. There was no way he could have gotten ahead of us on foot. No cars had passed, no side roads led there. Yet he was waiting, exactly as before. Again, we drove past. My wife clutched the armrest. My daughter stirred but didn't wake. I forced my eyes forward, telling myself maybe it was another man dressed similarly. But deep down, I didn't believe it. 5 minutes later, there he was again. This time, there was no billboard light, no town glow. Just my high beams cutting across an endless field. And him, standing at the edge of the road, hand raised in silent greeting. My wife gasped. I gripped the wheel so hard my wrists hurt. My pulse thundered in my ears. As we passed, my daughter woke and asked why Mom was holding her breath. My wife said, "Nothing, sweetheart. Go back to sleep." But her voice cracked. At one point, I forced myself to slow almost to a crawl, thinking maybe if I drove under 40, I'd catch him moving, stepping onto the road, something to prove he was real. But he never moved. He simply appeared again, already waiting, frozen in place. We passed the final figure just before entering our own town. My wife muttered, "Don't look." But I did anyway. For the first time I saw his face. Or thought I did. Pale, blurred, with no visible eyes. Maybe it was a trick of the light. Maybe I was too tired. But it was enough that I slammed the accelerator and didn't ease up until we were pulling into our driveway. That night we all went straight inside without talking. My daughter went back to bed. My wife and I sat at the kitchen table in silence. Finally, she said, "You saw it too, right? Not just me?" I nodded. Since then, we've avoided that road at night. I've driven it during the day dozens of times. There's nothing unusual there. No signs, no markers, no explanation, just flat fields and broken fences. I've asked other locals if they've seen anything strange. One older guy at a diner said, "Sometimes people show up where they shouldn't be. Best thing you can do is keep driving." I don't know what we saw. Maybe a drifter who somehow kept getting ahead, maybe my eyes playing tricks in the dark. But if it was a man, then it wasn't possible. And if it wasn't a man, I'll just say this. I'm grateful my daughter was too young to remember the details. Because sometimes when I check my mirror at night, I still expect to see a figure waiting on the shoulder, hand raised, ready to greet me again.
And those were 3 true driving accounts told exactly as they were written. Was it paranoia, fatigue, or something more? That's for you to decide. Thank you for watching. If you've experienced something like this, share your story in the comments. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and come back next week for more testimonies that blur the line between ordinary and terrifying.